The president is alive. You're in a hospital waiting room. Your director sits across from you. He says, "Walk me through the last 4 seconds." 4 seconds. The shot. Your body moving before your brain told it to. The weight of another person hitting you at full speed. The sound that comes after. You walk him through it. Every detail. When you finish, he looks at you for a long time. He says, "You did everything right." You nod. You think about the 3 days before those 4 seconds. The things you noticed. The things you filed away. The things you told yourself weren't worth escalating. You don't tell him about those. That's the job. Level 1. The candidate. You apply to the Secret Service the same way you apply to everything else. Online form, resume, cover letter. Then the waiting. The background check takes 6 months. They talk to everyone. Your 3rd grade teacher, your college roommate, the neighbor who called the cops on your party in 2019. They find everything. That's the point. Then the polygraph. 3 hours. Sensors on your body. Questions designed to find the thing you don't want them to find. Have you ever used illegal drugs? Have you ever stolen anything? Have you ever done something you know was wrong and done it anyway? You answer everything. 2 weeks later, the letter arrives. Report to Beltsville, Maryland. Training starts Monday. You have no idea what Monday looks like. Level 2. The trainee. Beltsville is where they find out if you're actually what your resume says you are. 6 months. Firearms first. You already know how to shoot. Now you learn to shoot differently. Move in while shooting. Shooting while someone is moving toward you. Shooting in a crowd without hitting the wrong person. The last one is the hardest. Then driving. Evasive maneuvers. How to get a limousine doing 60 miles an hour around a corner without rolling it. How to position a vehicle to absorb a blast. How to keep moving when every instinct says stop. Then the most important thing they teach you. How to take a bullet. Not metaphorically, literally. How to put your body between a threat and the person you're protecting. How to make that decision in 0 seconds. How to make it every time without hesitation. You practice until it's not a decision anymore. Until it's just what your body does. You graduate. You are now a special agent of the United States Secret Service. The badge is heavier than you expected. Level 3. The outer ring. Your first assignment, a presidential visit to Chicago. You're on the outer perimeter, 3 blocks from the president. You will not see him today. Your job is the crowd. Watch the hands. That's what your supervisor tells you on day 1. Not the faces, not the signs, not the shouting. The hands. Hands are where threats start. You watch 8,000 pairs of hands for 6 hours. Nothing happens. Most days, nothing happens. That's the job. You drive home. You think about hands. You'll think about hands for the rest of your career. Level 4. The detail. 2 years in, you make the presidential protective detail. Now you're close. Close enough to hear him breathe. Close enough to see what he eats for breakfast. Close enough to know which staffers he likes and which one he tolerates. You know more about this man than his family does. And he doesn't know your name. That's also the job. The detail runs on rotation. Shifts so long you lose track of days. You spend more time with this man than with anyone in your own life. You develop opinions about him. You file those opinions somewhere deep and you never touch them again. Because your job is not to have opinions. Your job is to be the last thing between him and everything that wants to hurt him. Level 5. The advance. You're sent ahead now. Before the president arrives anywhere, you're already there. Hotels, airports, convention centers, foreign cities where half the people on the street work for agencies that don't want him to come home. You walk every route. You identify every vantage point. You sit in the rooms he'll sit in, and you think about every possible way it could go wrong. Then you build a plan around each one. Rome, 3 days before the visit. You're walking the route from the Vatican to the hotel. You notice something. A building under renovation. Scaffolding on the 3rd floor. Workers who aren't working. You flag it. Your team checks it out. It's nothing. Construction workers on a break. You file it. You move on. You think about it for 3 days anyway. That's what advanced work does to you. Everything is a threat until it isn't. And sometimes you don't find out which one it is until it's too late. Level 6. The shift leader. You're on a shift now. 12 agents. Your call. Your responsibility. A state dinner at the White House. 400 guests. Every one of them vetted. Every one of them cleared. And still, you walk the room before anyone arrives. You check every entrance, every exit, every place a person could stand that gives them a line on the president. Your team is in position. The guests arrive. You watch the room. Hands. Always the hands. An hour in, a man reaches into his jacket. Your hand is on your weapon before you process what you're seeing. He pulls out a phone. He takes a photo of the centerpiece. You breathe. You file it away. You keep watching. That half second will never fully leave you. The half second before you know. Level 7. The Assistant Director. Washington now. You manage protective operations across the entire service. Hundreds of agents. Dozens of protectees. The President. The Vice President. Their families. Foreign heads of state visiting American soil. The threat picture at this level is different. Not one man with a weapon. Networks. Coordinated attacks. People who've been planning for years. You read intelligence every morning that most people in this country will never see. You make decisions based on that intelligence that most people will never know about. A credible threat against the Vice President. You increase the detail. You change the route. You cancel the public appearance. The threat doesn't materialize. You never know if it was because of what you did or because it was never real. That ambiguity is permanent. You live in it every day. Level 8. The 4 seconds. Back to the hospital waiting room. Walk me through the last 4 seconds. Here's what happened. A rope line in Milwaukee. The crowd wetted. The route secured. Everything by the book. A man in the 3rd row. You noticed him 20 minutes earlier. Something about the way he was standing. Not the hands. The stillness. People in crowds move. They shift their weight. They check their phones. They talk to the person next to them. This man was still. You flagged it internally. You watched him. He didn't move. You told yourself, stillness isn't a crime. You kept watching. Then the president stepped off the stage and the man moved. 4 seconds. You were already moving. You put your body where the bullet went. The president is alive. You're in a waiting room. Your director says you did everything right. You think about the stillness. 20 minutes of watching a man who wasn't moving. You didn't escalate. You told yourself it wasn't enough. You were right that it wasn't enough. You were wrong not to trust it. You'll spend the rest of your career figuring out the difference. Level 9. The Director. You run the Secret Service. The investigation into the Milwaukee incident took 8 months. You testified 4 times. Congressional hearings, Inspector General review, internal affairs. Every decision documented. Every second accounted for. The finding: your agents performed correctly given available information. You read that finding. You think about the stillness. You implement new training. How to act on instinct when instinct is all you have. How to trust the thing you can't fully explain. How to close the gap between what you see and what you do about it. You don't know if it will work. You implement it anyway. That's the job at this level. You make the best decision you can with what you have. And you build systems so the next person has more. Level 10. The Ghost. You retire after 26 years. That's a ceremony. People who know what you did but can't say it publicly, say it privately. You receive a commendation. You shake hands. You go home. You sit in a chair in a quiet house and you think about Milwaukee, the stillness, the 4 seconds, the weight of another person hitting you at full speed, the sound that comes after. The president sent you a letter, personal, handwritten. You've read it enough times that you've stopped reading it. It sits on a shelf. You think about all the things that almost happened, the trips to Rome, the state dinners, the rope lines in cities you can't remember anymore. The hands, always the hands. Somewhere right now, a new agent is standing on an outer perimeter, 3 blocks from someone worth protecting, watching the crowd, learning to see what other people miss, learning to trust what they see, learning to move before they think. The work continues. It always continues.